Well, it's been a big week of change in the FAWNL with not one but two new teams into the league, and one team has moved from the north down into the south. Well, at least according to the league's social media. Yes, welcome along to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League and the 72 teams that make up the 6 divisions within it. And as I said in the introduction there, it has been a big week of change within the FAWNL because the social media output, let's be honest, has been appalling. Let's get that out of the way before we start with this week's show properly. If ever there was a cause for the FA to get their own social media manager and sort out all of the social media in-house, this past weekend has demonstrated that once and for all. We had an appalling array of mistakes with the first league tables of the season, because of course there weren't league tables put out last week. They started it this week, and my word, did they make a big hash up of it. It seemed every single league table had something wrong with it. 2 of them were actually okay if you ignore the logos that are wrong and have been wrong from the very start. But every single table had something. So if we just have a look through, and all these tables of course have been deleted now, but they've not been replaced with the right ones, they've just been deleted. Northern Premier Division, everyone is in their full names apart from West Bromwich Albion, who have been shortened to West Brom Albion, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. In the Southern Premier Division, rather than 12th place being MK Dons, 12th place was Halifax, who of course play in the north. And also the table itself was wrong because Gwalior United's win was put down as a draw. Division 1 Midlands and Division 1 North, couldn't see anything wrong with that. South East, we have 2 new teams in Division 1 South East. We had Chesham Town and Ashton Town, rather than Ashford Town and Chesham United. And also one of the games was missing off that league table. The QPR game hadn't been put on the league table. And then we move into the Southwest. That also had the Abingdon Moneyfields game missing, and it had Bridgewater United spelt incorrectly. Plus, on top then of all of that, the results graphics, all of the scores were all over the place in the centre column, and it just looked absolutely appalling. But the amount of mistakes that were in those tables, and like I say, they've been deleted now, but if you did catch them, it just made the league look so bad that it was pretty embarrassing for all involved with the league. What it highlighted is that rather than having a template for every league, they have one template that they delete all of the information out of and put all of the information back in again, which is where you get the mistakes like this. So just for obviously a bit of context in this, so with this show, with my creation here, I have a template for Northern Premier fixtures, Northern Premier results, Northern Premier table, Southern Prem fixtures, Southern Prem results, Southern Prem table, all the way through. And that means you put the 12 teams into the table at the start of the season, and then as the table moves around, all I do is cut and paste the teams from one bit of the template to the next. So you can't get a Halifax ending up in the Southern Premier Division. and then you just go through and you change all the numbers for played, goal difference, points, etc. What's happened there is that they've gone through, they've taken the teams out but forgotten to do the last one, and then as they've been going through and changing the wins and the draws and the losses, they've forgotten to change the one where Gwalia is. Because if you look at the Northern Premier Division, if you look at the Northern Premier Division table, Liverpool Feds, who are in 8th in the north, Gwalia 8th in the south, Liverpool Feds have a draw and a loss, but Gwalia have a win and a loss. And that didn't get changed either, so it ended up being wrong. So it highlights once again, the FA need to sort out their own social media manager and bring all of the graphics in-house, because that, coupled then with the very random reposting of various things throughout the week, which make no sense, because what happens is somebody clearly logs on to the league socials, scrolls down and goes repost, 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 repost for whatever happens to have been posted in the last day or so, with no context whatsoever to it. And it just makes absolutely no sense. None at all. Right. I wanted to get all that out of my head while I was thinking about it, and we'll now move on then to the results from the second weekend of the FA WNL season. We'll start in the Northern Premier Division, where Derby County lost out to Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-1 in a game where both sides finished with 10 players. Anna Morfitt sent off for Wolves. Big loss for them, particularly with Forest coming up this weekend. Rebecca May sent off for Derby, and Derby have already said they're going to appeal that. But one for Katie Johnson and one for Anna Morfitt for Wolves. Paris Dalton taking the lead for Derby early on inside the 5th minute. Hull City 0, Stoke City 1. Now, an interesting one, because of course Hull, for want of a better phrase, got absolutely battered on the opening day of the season. And Forest beat Stoke by 3-0, which was a bit of a war of attrition. Forest eventually coming out on top. For then Hull and Stoke to really battle, it kind of goes along then with what I was suspecting throughout the off-season, is that Hull are going to make themselves very difficult to beat at home. Rosine Kivell on the hour mark with the only goal for Stoke City, but you just got that impression that it was just going to be made very difficult. So do not be surprised if Hull take a good haul of points away from their own ground this season. Nottingham Forest at the City Ground beating Sporting Kansas by 7-0. Again, was kind of expected this one. Sophie Domingo 18th minute, Freya Thomas 30th minute, Molly Green 61st, Holly Manders 69th, Charlie Welling 71st, Bridget Galloway 88th, and there was an own goal in there as well. So 7-0 the victory for Forest. Rugby Borough beating Liverpool Feds by 3-1. 2 goals early on here. Angelina Nixon in the 10th minute, then Katie Anderson in the 13th, equalising for Feds. Then Angelina Nixon again, 35th minute. Rugby in front by 2-1 at half time. They only shored that game up right near the end with Nikki Potts in the 84th minute to give them the 3-1 victory. And it was the same scoreline between Stourbridge and Burnley. But Stourbridge went into this one through Rosanna Embley in the lead, 44th minute, right before half time from the penalty spot. They took the lead in that one. Burnley, though, in the second half, Brenna McPartner in the 50th minute, Emma Siddle in the 56th, and Laura Elford in the 92nd. So Burnley make it 2 from 2 as well, but not as a convincing victory at Stourbridge that you might have expected. And then in the late kickoff, West Brom against Halifax, West Brom winning by 4-0, 2 for Ashley Brown, 1 for Olivia Rabjon, and 1 for Miriam Mahmood. So 4-0 the win for West Brom. What it means for the table, and again, all of those up and down arrows that I normally do, they will go on from probably 4 or 5 games played just when this table starts to settle down a little bit. So Rugby Borough lead the way with a goal difference of 12 after their huge win on the opening day of the season. Burnley second after their big win on the opening day of the season as well. Forest are only a couple of goals off the top after they had the big win this weekend. And then Wolves, the other side, 2 for 2 as they take fourth. West Brom are fifth. Derby and Stoke with 1 win each, 6th and 7th. Liverpool Feds with that lone draw in 8th. And then the bottom 4 all yet to get off the mark. So interesting to see, particularly this weekend as well, with 2 of those top 4 coming up against each other. One of the 100% records at least will go, and that will be a big test for both of those sides. Okay, Southern Premier Division then. So we have got plenty to go through this week. So Watford in the midday kickoff beating Billericay Town by a 1-0. Lashante Paul in the 17th minute with the only goal of that game. And then also with their first win of the season, Gwalior United winning 1-0 at home to AFC Wimbledon. Emily Poole in the 47th minute with that one for Gwalior United. Wimbledon finished with 10 after Lita Rutherford was sent off in stoppage time. 2 teams that were up near the top last season met early this year. In Ipswich Town beat #United by 2-0. Lucy O'Brien in the 11th minute, Sophie Peskett in the 55th minute gave them the clean sheet and the 3 points. But the great start to the season continues for Exeter City, who won away at Lewes by 4-0. Sarah Stacey in the 5th and the 23rd minute. Sophie Gillies in the 29th minute and Bo Jackson in the 66th minute. 4-0 the win for Exeter City. Great start to the season for them. And Milton Keynes Dons, just a bad start to the season for them. 5-0 defeat at home to Cheltenham Town, who went on a bit of a rampage in a 10-minute spell. Emily Owen in the 20th, Una Liu in the 22nd and Lacey J. Liggett in the 30th. 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes for Cheltenham, probably put the game to bed. And then in the second half, Una Liu with another one and Henna Butcher in the 68th minute meant it finished 5-0. Plymouth Argyle 1, Oxford United 3. Oxford getting their season on the way. Taya Pomfret in the 9th minute for Plymouth, though, got their only goal of the game. Leah Burridge in the 50th. Zoe Barrett in the 65th. And was it an own goal or is there a goal missing? Oh, there's a goal missing off the system, which is actually on my spreadsheet. We've played 70 games so far in the FAWNL. And if I bring up my stats sheet, of the 70 games we have played so far in the FAWNL, we are missing data from 29 of them. Nearly half of the games in the FAWNL have data missing at the moment, which is the issue when we've got amateur teams and volunteers in a league that is looking to make strides forward in that regard. And people are giving up their time and doing the best they can, but we are missing a lot of data, which makes it very difficult. Okay, Southern Premier Division then. So Exeter City, they lead the way with a goal difference of 11. Only 3 teams have gone 2 for 2. Ipswich, Cheltenham and Exeter City. So the top 2 being taken by teams over in that kind of southwest region at the moment. Then a bunch of teams on 3 points each. Billericay, Oxford, Watford and Gwalior. In fact, everybody apart from the bottom 2 of Plymouth and MK Dons have picked up points now this season, which is great for them. In terms of teams looking to cement themselves in Tier 3, of course, it's Exeter and Wimbledon who came up. Exeter doing a great job. We've seen from previous years, if you can get to 20 points, you're probably going to be okay. 2 weeks into the season, and Exeter are a third of the way there. Now, Exeter might be going into this season thinking we don't want to just survive, we want to push on, and it looks like they are doing. But the aim, obviously, the primary goal is stay in the division, and then anything else from that you can build on. If you get to Christmas time and you go, actually, we're in the top half here, we're doing well, then your goals can change. A great start to the season for Exeter City. They did really well in the Cup as well last night, which we will get to later on in this week's show. Conscious that we're already at the 15-minute mark and we've only done 2 leagues and we've still got a cup and a load of fixtures to go through. So I'll try and pick up the pace a little bit so that this show doesn't turn into a 1-hour special for you. Right, let's go through then to Division 1 Midlands. Barnsley Women's losing to Leafield Athletic by 3-1. A hat-trick for Evangeline Gallup, 70th, 87th and 89th minute for Leafield Athletic, who have had, again, great start to the season. We know how much they struggled last year, pulled off a bit of a great escape towards the end of the season, and a lot of people kind of had them as the relegation favourites going into this year. And they've really proved that wrong early doors. Lincoln United, good home point against Solihull Moors. Amy Copley in the 25th minute for Lincoln. Macy Winters with the goal for Solihull Moors. Loughborough Lightning, though, making their intentions clear. Another 8-0 victory, this time against Notts County. 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. Sarah Woodburn in the 5th. Zinnia Delgin in the 8th and Lauren Purchase in the 9th. They then settled down for 10 minutes or so. Poppy Wright in the 20th minute, making it 4. And then Georgia Hewitt, 46th minute. Jessica Collier, 64th and 71st minute. That is only 7. Have we got an own goal in there somewhere? Don't appear to. So it looks like we're just missing a goal for Loughborough Lightning as well, somewhere along the line. Northampton Town 4, Worcester City 2. Again, missing a goal somewhere for Worcester City, but goals for Northampton Town. Kimberly Farrow in the 22nd, Jade Bell 28th and 74th, and Bianca Lutman in the 41st. Keris Dolloway with the goal for Worcester City. Yeah, it doesn't say there's an own goal anyway, so we're just missing a goal for Worcester as well. From the weekend. Peterborough 8-0 over Lincoln City. Lincoln City's struggles continue. Keir Perkins opened the scoring in the 7th minute. Katie Middleton with a hat-trick, 20th, 79th and 86th minute there. Lauren Wilshaw in the 52nd. Neve Connor in the 54th and the 58th. And Frankie Pym in the 88th minute. Very convincing for Peterborough. And Bournemouth St Michael's winning narrowly away at Sutton Coldfield Town. That was a goal in the 54th minute, but we don't know who to. The only thing we do know is that it wasn't to Jade Formerston because she got the assist. And this is what I'm saying again. It comes back to the same point. We're missing so much data, and presumably it's got to go in at some point, but what if that goal never gets put on? Not only is it a 20 quid fine, but what if that then makes the difference for the golden boot at the end of the season? You know, it's really difficult because there's a lot of very hard-working people giving up a lot of their time. We're just missing these fundamental bits. Really missing these fundamental bits. Right, league table then. Loughborough Lightning lead the way. One of 3 teams to get 2 from 2. Peterborough and Leafield the other 2. This is what I'm saying again. If Leafield are to have another difficult season and they need to try and get to 20 points, they're already a third of the way there. They've had a superb start. Again, only the 2 teams in the relegation zone haven't yet picked up points. Worcester City and Lincoln City as well. Worcester City with Northampton Town away and Peterborough at home. 2 difficult games for them to start. And when we spoke to Nicole Allison in the off-season at Worcester, it's very much them kind of picking and choosing their games. They're going to be looking at the Notts Counties, the Lincoln Uniteds, probably the Barnsleys and the Lincoln Cities at this point now. And trying to pick the points up there rather than trying to go toe to toe with the Peterboroughs and the Loughboroughs of the league. Division 1 North, big standout game in this one we'll get to in a moment, but we'll start with Leeds United beating AFC Fylde by 3-1. Despite Fylde being 1-0 up at half-time, Chung Chan in the 14th minute putting Fylde in front, but goals in the second half to Sian Gibril Keating in the 53rd, Catherine Smith in the 60th and Sarah Danby in the 75th minute with the goals for Leeds United. And then we come to Cheadle Town, who you'll remember told me in the summer again that they had no right playing the likes of Doncaster Rovers, Bells and Stockport and Huddersfield and Leeds, but they can beat York City by 6-0. Rachel Dunlop, 3rd and 39th minute, Jessica Gillen, 45 plus 5 and 88. Harriet Horton, 58, and Tara Juice in the 83rd minute. So a big win for Cheadle Town Stingers, and that will give them a big morale boost going into the rest of the season as well. Winning by 6-0. Chorley 2, Doncaster Rovers 1. Jasmine Saxton giving Doncaster Rovers the lead in the 12th minute, but all the scoring done before half-time. Saffron Newhouse 33rd and Millie Fitzpatrick 44th mean that Chorley take the 3 points in that game. Durham Cester draw with Barnsley by 1 goal each. Kimberly Brown for Barnsley in the 3rd minute, opening the scoring for them, and the Durham goal is missing. Now, the interesting thing with the Durham goal is that, well, no, there isn't. You look at there's really no idea. Don't know when it was. Don't know who scored it. We're missing a lot of information about that one. Huddersfield Town narrowly winning over Stockport by 1-0. Charlotte Stewart in the 63rd minute scoring that one for Huddersfield Town. Just the 1 goal in there, tight game. And the Battle of the North East finished with a draw as well, a goal apiece. Louise Atkinson in the 8th minute scoring for Norton Stockton Ancients. Ellen Turnbull at an unknown time scoring for Middlesbrough. North table then, that means Chorley lead the way with 2 wins from 2. Huddersfield Town nipping at their heels, but you notice there isn't the big goal differences that we're seeing in like the Northern Premier Division and the Southern Premier Division, Division 1 Midlands. We're not seeing in Division 1 North these huge goal differences already. So they lead the way. Then Durham and Middlesbrough have got 4 points. They're still unbeaten this season. Then Cheadle, Stockport and Leeds have all got 3. Again, it's only the bottom 2 of York City and Doncaster Rovers Bells that are yet to score a point this season. Division 1 South East results then. Very tight games here as well. Actonians beating Chatham Town by just 1-0. That goal coming to Dio Nor in the 75th minute, and AFC Sudbury beating Queen's Park Rangers by the same scoreline. Substitute Jessica Allen coming on and getting the only goal in that game. Ashford Town 1, Chesham United 3. Ashford Town losing this. They went down to 10 when Georgia Young was sent off. Their goal coming to Lavanna Newfield as well. But Chesham United take the 3 points. Natalia Mikowska in the 26th and the 95th minute. Sophie Burkitt in the 38th with the other goal for Chesham United, or Chesham Town as the league social media put it. London Bees 2, Rail Bedford 3. Very close game, this one. London Bees almost got themselves back into it. Rail Bedford had raced to a 3-0 lead in the first half. Chiara Miola in the 23rd minute, Abby Benstead in the 24th, and then Miola again in the 34th. So an 11-minute spell, 3 goals. Rail Bedford running away with the game, but Hayley Hoare in the 68th minute got one back for London Bees, and then Millie Constantine in the 92nd minute got another back, and it would have made for a very interesting final couple of minutes of stoppage time. Rail Bedford, they hold on for a 3-2 win. London Seaward lose by 1-0 to Dulwich Hamlet. Natalie Taylor with the only goal on the hour mark. That's the first of 2 meetings between those 2 sides this week. and Norwich City beating Cambridge United by 2-0. A brace for Natasha Snelling, 21st and 65th minute, mean Norwich take all 3 points. Well, that means for the table then, 3 teams going 2 for 2, Real Bedford, Norwich City and Actonians. A bunch of teams there with 1 win from their 2 games. London Bees and Queen's Park Rangers just with a draw each. And then Cambridge United and Ashford Town at the bottom of the table. But still very close, no huge goal difference changes in South East either. So it's not really anything to panic about too much for those sides down towards the bottom. Division 1 South West then, again, very close, tight games. It seems to be a bit of a theme down towards the bottom. Only 5 games in this one because Southampton Women's against Bristol Rovers was postponed. However, Southampton, and even though their cup game's been postponed to next week, Southampton Women, they have now got 17 players registered to the first team, 17 of them. So they're very much struggling still, but they've got 17 players and they are starting their season this weekend. So we are getting there, and it looks as though we are going to get 72 teams playing in the FAWNL. Abingdon United 0, Moneyfields 1. Goal in this one, Charlie Wilson-Wilton. It was late. It was the 85th minute. The Moneyfields get all 3 points. Bournemouth only just beat Worthing as well by 2-1. Jenna Markham in the 11th minute put Bournemouth in front. Tierney Scott in the 19th equalised for Worthing. And right before half-time, Alicia Buckingham put Bournemouth back in front in the 45+1 minute. So 2-1, Bournemouth win that one. Bridgewater just beating Maidenhead by 1-0. Very early goal to Keely Banfield in the 4th minute, and then they held on to that for the rest of the game to give them 3 points. Portishead drawing with Keynsham Town by 1 goal each. Kelly Jones with the goal for Portishead on the 32nd minute. Keynsham Town's lineup still is not on the system. And finally, for Division 1 South West, Swindon Town beating Bournemouth Sports by 1-0. Probably a good result for Bournemouth Sports, that only losing by a single goal away at Swindon Town. Annabelle Colston in the 13th minute with the goal for Swindon Town. Right, let's move through then into the South West table just to wrap up the league stuff from the past 7 days. So Bournemouth top the way, Moneyfields in second, Swindon Town in third, Abingdon United and Bridgewater United 4th and 5th with 1 win each, Portishead Town with 2 draws, so they are in 6th, Bournemouth Sports 7th, Keynsham Town 8th, and then 4 teams yet to get off the mark. But of course Southampton Women haven't played yet, Worthing have only played 1, and Bristol Rovers have only played 1 because their games against Southampton Women's have been postponed. Don't think as of yet, although I will just check for you, that those games have been rescheduled. Don't believe that they have. The Bristol Rovers one definitely hasn't, and neither has the Worthing one. So once those games are rescheduled, we'll let you know when they are. Right, so that covers the league for the last 7 days or so. Let's go on to the Cup and get rid of my face for a minute because there's so much to get in on these screens. So we'll start with last night and then we'll jump back to Tuesday for a reason that you'll see a little bit later on. So with these games only happening last night, I'm not expecting a huge amount of information to already be on full time, but we'll see. So Oxford United beating Abingdon by 10-0. Barnsley beating Barnsley Women's by 1-0. Burnley beating Chatham by 7-0. If there is information on these games, I will jump in, but when there isn't, I will just keep skipping. So Chatham Town 0, United 2, Derby County 2, Loughborough Lightning 1. That went to extra time. Now Derby equalised in the 94th minute and then nicked it in extra time to see themselves into the Cup. Exeter City 8, Portishead Town 1, Gwalior United 2, Bristol Rovers 0, Halifax 0, Leeds United 2. Lewis 2, Worthing 1, that one also after extra time. Liverpool Feds 3, Stockport County 2. Goals to Liverpool Feds, Alicia Collins in the 7th minute and Rosie Kinvig in the 53rd and the 68th minute. No information yet about Stockport County. Middlesbrough 4, Durham Sestra 1. Erin Brown with Durham Sestra's only goal of the game. Queen's Park Rangers, they needed extra time to get past AFC Wimbledon, winning by a goal to nil. Rail Bedford 3, Milton Keynes Dons 0. Laura Mitchell, 52nd minute. Hannah Warren, 63rd minute. And Sharon Miola in the 80th minute with the 3 goals for Rail Bedford. Sporting Council 1, Sutton Coldfield Town 2. Chloe Finn in the 65th minute and Phoebe Hopwood in the 81st minute with the goals for Sutton Coldfield Town. Solihull Moors actually pulled out of their game against West Bromwich Albion. So West Brom have been given the pass into the Cup. Solihull Moors will supposedly there play in the plate, but whether they actually do or not, because of course teams did have the opportunity to opt out of playing in the plate, and we yet to know how many teams are going to be actually in the plate because we don't know how many PGA teams there are. We don't know how many FAWNL teams have opted in. I guess we'll find out when the draw comes out because we're not going to find out before, are we? Swindon Town 3, Keynsham Town 1. Annabelle Colston in the 24th minute, Gypsy Vivace in the 38th, and Libby Davis in the 96th. The all Tier 3 tie between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Stoke City finished 3-1 to Stoke. So Wolves go into the plate. If they opt to play in that, you have to say that they're probably one of the favourites to go deep in that. But that also gives a great indication of how two teams that you think would be around 3rd, 4th, 5th, certainly top half of the Northern Premier Division match up against each other. Yes, the side would have been rotated, particularly for Wolves, because they have Forest on Sunday. But it just gives you that impression that Stoke are not going to be a pushover, and Wolves perhaps are not quite where they want to be. And then game of the night, York City 6, Norton and Stockton Ancients 5. And I am so glad that all the information is on there so we can bring you this game in its entirety. So, as I said, York City winning by 6 goals to 5. So, I want to make sure I get this right. York City, they take the lead through Faye Singleton in the 15th minute. Then on the 20th minute, Sophie Curl equalises for Norton, 1-1. Bianca Owens then puts Norton in front, 28th minute. That lasts all of 4 minutes before Katie Astle equalises again for York City on 32. And at the 32-minute mark, it's 2-2. York then go back in front, 38th minute, 3-2 through Katie Astle again. Sorry, no. Faye Singleton puts them back in front in the 36th minute, 3-2. Katie Astle then makes it 4-2 with a goal in the 38th minute. Louise Atkinson then gets one back for Norton Stockton Ancients in the 42nd minute. So just at half time, it's 4-3. Then Ocean Rowlandson puts York 5-3 in front in the 53rd minute. Bianca Owens makes it 5-4 in the 58th minute. Katie Astle completes her hat-trick in the 88th minute to make it 6-4. And then Bianca Owens completes her hat-trick in the 93rd minute to make it 6-5. Talk about a back and forth game. What a game that would have been to watch between York and Norton. York progress into the Cup. We are presuming, even with 2 games next week, that the draw for the preliminary round of the Cup will probably take place on Monday, because it is likely that the preliminary round will take place on the 15th, which is in a couple of weeks' time, in order for those games to be played and have the buffer for postponements, and then give teams the couple of weeks' notice as to what the first round draw would look like. Now, if I was the league, I would draw the preliminary round and the first round so that teams know who to prepare for. even if you then get a preliminary round team, it can be these or these against, whoever. Let's just say it's, I don't know, Nottingham Forest or Rugby Borough against Stoke City or whatever. At least then Stoke know they're playing one of those two teams. Let's then jump back to Tuesday and also look ahead to the games taking place tonight. So Tuesday, AFC Sudbury 1, Billericay Town 4. A hat-trick for Maddie Biggs and one for Aisha Swaby for Billericay Town. Jessica Allen with one for AFC Sudbury. Hull City, a 6-0 win over Lincoln City, so not great for Lincoln to start this year. Shakala Brooks, hat-trick, Hope Knight, Helen Linsky and Rachel Ackroyd. And then Northampton Town 3, Cambridge United 2, Isabella Simmons with the 2 for Cambridge. We don't yet have the information about Northampton. So then let's go into tonight then. Plymouth Argyle against Bridgewater United. Boldmere St Michael's take on Stourbridge. Chorley against Cheadle Stingers. Huddersfield Town Doncaster Rovers Bells. London Bees against Actonians. London Seaward against Dulwich Hamlet. Maidenhead take on Ashford Town. Moneyfields against AFC Bournemouth. Norwich City against Ipswich Town. That should be a great game. Nottingham Forest against Notts County. Also probably going to be a very good game. First time outside of the County Cup that those two sides have met. Peterborough United against Lincoln United, Worcester City against Cheltenham Town, and Leafield Athletic against Rugby Borough is the 8 o'clock kickoff. Plymouth Argyle Bridgewater United 7 o'clock kickoff. At W Football Chat, right on that full-time whistle of Leafield Athletic against Rugby Borough, or at the end of extra time for one of the other teams. The results will all be up, and you can see on at W Football Chat as well the progress for the teams that are going into the Cup. Don't, of course, know about the plate because we don't know if teams have opted out, how many PGA teams are going in, and all the rest of it. So 13 ties in the Cup tonight, and we'll get through those, as I said, over the course of the evening. I'll be taking you through those. Right then, so that's with the Cup this week. There's 2 Cup games next week, Cheshire Watford and Southampton Women's Bournemouth Sports are both next week, but they are next Thursday evening, so I'll have a brief look at those two on next week's show. Right, Northern Premier Division fixtures then. And again, new for this season is the table on the right hand side so that you can see where teams are in the league when they're coming up against each other. So Derby County against West Bromwich Albion, both mid-table to start the season. Liverpool Feds against Halifax. Feds will be looking to get themselves up towards that top half. Sporting Cowser against Rugby Borough. Sporting yet to get off the mark this season, -10 goal difference. Rugby Borough 2 for 2. Be interesting to see, and I know it's very different circumstances because one was away in Nottingham, this one's at home, but it'll be interesting to see what Rugby do against Sporting because that will give you 1 week apart a relatively good comparison between Forest and Rugby, relatively, at this early stage. Stoke City against Burnley, that one I'm really interested in because Stoke gave Forest a very good run for the money for about an hour or so. Burnley, of course, looked so strong in the opening couple of games. So again, it will be interesting to see how they match up as they start to play teams other teams around them have played. Stourbridge against Hull City, 2 sides yet to get off the mark this season. So both will be looking for a big win to kickstart their season. And then I think the game of the day, Wolves against Forest, it's always a good game between those two sides. The last time they met, Forest were 3-0 up with about half an hour to go and ended up losing that game 4-3. Becky Anderson, Charlotte Greengrass going against their old side. They're now in Wolves colours. But how will Wolves go against Forest? They don't have Anamorphic after that suspension. It's going to be a very interesting game. Definitely one to keep an eye on because this is one, and I said it probably at the start of the season. You look at the fixtures board here, and Forest between now and the end of September have Wolves, Burnley and Rugby Borough. They've got Wolves and Rugby away and Burnley at home. And I still maintain if Forest get to the end of September and they're unbeaten, that's probably them getting the league. If they slip up a couple of times, then it could be wide open. In the south, another great tie is Exeter City against Ipswich Town. How will Exeter do against one of the other sides tipped? Well, against one of the sides tipped to be right up there come the end of the season. That's first against third, and Cheltenham Town against AFC Wimbledon gives Cheltenham an opportunity, if Exeter and Ipswich play a draw out, to go top of the table. Lewis against Watford, they of course met last year in the Championship. They're now meeting again in Tier 3. Watford with one win from their opening 2 games. Lewis with just a draw. Oxford United against Gwalior United, 2 mid-table sides. Hashtag United against Billericay Town, again 2 other sides, same as Oxford and Gwalior, who have played 2, won 1, lost 1. And Milton Keynes Dons against Plymouth Argyle. The 2 sides currently in the relegation zone meet at Stadium MK. That's going to be really interesting because MK Dons have seemingly struggled, and they're lost to. They've had 2 big defeats in the league. They're out of the cup. They're in the plate competition. They really need to get themselves going. They've had obviously huge change over summer. Are they going to be in a very difficult season, and are they going to end up really struggling and being in Tier 4, or can they turn that around? Again, I don't know, but my gut instinct says that Plymouth might go to Stadium MK and take something. Right, Division 1 Midlands then. Barnsley Women's against Peterborough United. That's going to be tough for Barnsley. They are currently in 10th, just with 1 point, where Peterborough United have got 2 for 2. Lincoln City against Solihull Moors. Again, Lincoln, they've played 2 teams up near the top. They've played 2 teams right up there. Now they're playing a team probably more on their level. Are they going to get blown out the water again? And therefore, are they going to have an appalling season? Or are they going to start to turn things around? And that was a bit of a blip at the start. Loughborough Lightning against Leafield Athletic, 2 teams with 100% records. You probably think Loughborough will take it, but I know Leafield will give it a very good go. Notts County Sutton Coldfield Town, both with 1 win from their first 2 games. They'll be looking at that again and thinking we can get ourselves up to that 6-point mark and probably be a third of the way there. Worcester City against Lincoln United. This is what I was saying earlier. Worcester City aren't looking at these games against Loughborough and Peterborough. They are looking at these games against the likes of Lincoln United, and that's where they're going to pick up their points. At home as well, be a big opportunity for them to get their season going. And then the late kickoff, 3 o'clock, Bournemouth St Michael's against Northampton Town. That is 5th against 4th, and they've both had kind of an okay start to the season. Bournemouth St Michael's are unbeaten. Northampton Town have won 1 out of 2. Into the north then, so Barnsley against Cheadletown Stingers. So the 2 newly promoted sides come up against each other at Oakwell. Actually, they're playing that at the Barnsley Men's Stadium. So Barnsley with 2 draws. Cheadletown, of course, with that big win over York last weekend. Durham Cester against Chorley. So that's 1st versus 3rd. Big gain there at Durham University. Huddersfield Town taking on Norton Stockton Ancients. Huddersfield, the other team, going 2 for 2. They're wanting to bounce straight back into Tier 3. Norton Stockton Ancients with just a draw so far this season. Middlesbrough against AFC Fylde. These 4th against 9th. With Middlesbrough again unbeaten against a side that's only got 1 draw. Stockport County against Leeds United, 2 mid-table sides, and York City against Doncaster Rovers Bells are the 2 sides in the relegation zone at the moment. So like in the Southern Premier Division with Milton Keynes Dons and Plymouth Argyle, here it's York City and Doncaster Rovers Bells, the 2 sides yet to get off the mark this season, currently occupying the bottom 2, and they go up against each other this weekend. Into South East then, and we've got AFC Sudbury against Actonians. So AFC Sudbury are currently in 8th spot. Actonians yet to drop any points this season, and they take on each other at the Mel Group Stadium. Cambridge United, they are in the relegation zone. They take on Chesham United, who have had a decent start to their campaign. Dulwich Hamlet against Ashford Town. So Dulwich, again, same as Chesham. Won one, lost one. Ashford Town yet to get off the mark. Norwich City against London Seaward. That is second there against seventh. Second against seventh. Queen's Park Rangers against Real Bedford. Real Bedford will be looking to make it 3-3 away from home. And Chatham Town against London Bees. That's fourth against ninth. One win from the first two. It's on one draw from the first two. And finally, we have a full programme in Division 1 South West with all 12 teams taking part. Abingdon United against Bristol Rovers, 4th against 11th. Bridgewater United take on Swindon Town. Bridgewater are in 5th, Swindon in 3rd. Keynsham Town against Southampton Women, that is 8th against 9th. Of course, Southampton Women's kick-starting their season finally a few weeks after everybody else. Maidenhead United against Bournemouth Sports. Maidenhead bottom of the table at the moment. Bournemouth Sports will want to keep those points ticking along. They don't need to get a huge number early on, but they just want to keep it ticking on. They will look at this as a good opportunity after only narrowly losing last week. Moneyfields against AFC Bournemouth. They are meeting tonight in the Cup, and then they're meeting again on Sunday. So whatever happens tonight may well be a precursor to what happens on Sunday. And then Worthing against Portishead Town is 10th against 6th, with 2 draws for Portishead. Worthing losing their opening game of the season, but that was against Bournemouth, who are tipped to go up. And of course, they didn't play against Southampton on the opening day of the season. And that, in just 3/4 of an hour, is this week's women's football chat. So much to go through. So next week, we're going to have a look at the final 2 games in the determining round. We'll have a good idea in the Cup and the Plate. In fact, actually, those games, Chesham United and Watford, Southampton Women's against Bristol Rovers, because they are both in the Bournemouth Sports, not Bristol Rovers, because they are both in the south, we will know by next week's show, even if we haven't had a draw from the league, the 18 teams in the northern section. So we will know that at least, and then we wait to see what happens in the south. So we've got tonight's Cup games to go back through, that full programme of league fixtures again. We might have a draw for the first round, we'll see. And then we've got those 2 Cup games as well. So it'll be a busy show again next week. To make sure you don't miss it, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And you can even hit the bell, get the notifications to make sure you never miss a show. You can also follow on Twitter at WFootballChat. It's where you find loads throughout the week, all covering the results, the league tables, information about postponed games, new venues, all the rest of it like that. That's all there on WFootballChat. There's also the website as well, www.womensfootballchat.wordpress.com. You'll be able to see how the summer knockout unfolded. There's a game of the week section on there as well. Looking to do more with the website, just figuring out what the best way of putting data on there is, so it's not just a huge spreadsheet staring at you on the screen. But that will about do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. As I said, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends, follow on social media, and I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. with all the very latest from the FAWNL. But for now, goodbye.